Hello and welcome to News Tonight on Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Tina Jha. Let's begin with the day's top headlines. Decomposer capsule trials in 5 states to tackle stubble burning. Ministerial meet of Delhi, Haryana, Punjab, Uttar Pradesh and Rajasthan decides on monitoring hotspots to control air pollution. Unlock 5 guidelines come into force outside COVID-19 containment zones. Active coronavirus cases remain under 10 lakh for the 10th day in a row. Average testing 5 times above the limit set by the World Health Organization. Flight tickets cancelled during COVID-19 lockdown period to be fully refunded. Supreme Court directs airline companies to implement Directorate General of Civil Aviation's proposal. Nomination process begins for first phase of Bihar Assembly elections to 71 seats on 28 October. Last date to file applications is 8 October. Election Commission team in Naxalite-affected areas to review preparations. And 95,480 crore collected as goods and services tax in September. Amount marks 4% increase over revenues collected in the same month last year. Environment Minister Prakash Javadekar said on Thursday that good air days are continuously increasing and bad air days are decreasing in pollution-affected states. The minister said good air days have increased to 182 from 108 days in the last 4 years due to the coordinated steps taken by the centre and the states. He said stubble burning is one of the causes of air pollution and the centre has provided machines for burning stubble. He added new decomposer capsules developed by the Indian Council of Agricultural Research will be tested for decomposing the stubble. Prakash Javadekar was speaking with the media after the meeting held with environment ministers and officials of Delhi, Haryana, Punjab, Rajasthan and Uttar Pradesh. The meeting was held to discuss the action plans of the various agencies for controlling the air pollution levels in these states.
ICAR ये भारत सरकार की कृषि संशोधन की जो संस्था है, काउंसिल है, तो पूसा संस्था के द्वारा एक डीकंपोजर का नया शोध भी किया है। इसकी भी ट्रायल सभी राज्यों में इस साल होगी, क्योंकि हजारों हेक्टेयर पर इस तरह की ट्रायल होके उसके परिणाम आएंगे तो अगली साल और बढ़त मिलेगी। तो बहुत सारे उपाय केंद्र ने किए, राज्यों ने भी काम किया और इस सबका परिणाम हुआ है कि ये अच्छे हवा के दिन थोड़े बढ़े हैं और बुरी हवा के दिन थोड़े कम हुए हैं, लेकिन यह और भी अच्छा करने की जरूरत है। इस पर आज बैठक में जोर दिया गया।
The Union Environment Minister also addressed the United Nations Biodiversity Summit on its 75th anniversary. Prakash Javadekar said India is championing the climate action through conservation, sustainable lifestyle and a green development model. He asserted that India has a culture of living in harmony with nature. Javadekar said in the last decade, India has increased its forest and tree cover by 15,000 square kilometers, which is 25% of its total geographic area. He also informed that India has the highest number of tigers in the wild that has doubled ahead of the 2022 deadline. He also cited 2 new projects, Project Lion and Project Dolphin, to preserve the biodiversity of the nation. Javadekar said COVID-19 had shown how unregulated exploitation of natural resources, coupled with unsustainable food habits and consumption, lead to destruction of the system that supports human life.
If you protect nature, nature will protect you. Inspired by Mahatma Gandhi, the ethos of non-violence and protection of animals and nature have been suitably enshrined in Constitution of India and is reflected in several laws and legislations. It is due to these beliefs and efforts and the India's ethos, with only 2.5% of Earth's landmass, we have 8% of world's recorded biodiversity. In the course of last decade, India has enhanced the combined forest and tree cover by 15,000 square kilometers to reach nearly 25%.
Moving on, Unlock 5, aimed at reopening more economic activities, came into effect from Thursday with strict enforcement of lockdown in containment zones till the 31st of October. Infections in the country have now crossed 63,12,000, out of which over 52,73,000 people have recovered. Take a look at the COVID-19 situation in the country in this report. Unlock 5 came into effect from Thursday across India, with states advised to follow strict lockdown in containment zones till 31st of October. Cinemas, theatres, multiplexes are now permitted to open with up to 50% of their seating capacity after the 15th of October. Entertainment parks and similar places will also be permitted to open. Swimming pools can reopen for training of sportspersons. Educational institutions, including schools, are allowed to open after 15th. However, the final decision lies with the state governments. International travel is banned till the end of this month. Only essential services will be allowed in containment zones, while lockdown will continue in containment zones till 31st of October. In more encouraging news, for the 10th day in a row, active coronavirus cases in India remained under 10 lakh. With 85,376 people having recuperated from COVID-19 in a span of 24 hours, India's total recovery surged to 52,73,000 on Thursday, pushing the recovery rate to 83.53%. There are 9,40,000 active cases in the country, which comes to 14.9% of the total cases. 86,821 new confirmed cases and 1,181 new deaths were reported in the last 24 hours. Total infections crossed 63,12,000, while the death toll has crossed 98,678. Over 7 crore 56 lakh samples have been tested so far, including 14,23,000 samples on Wednesday. The Health Ministry has said that India's average COVID testing has been increased to more than 15 lakh tests per day and has exceeded the 140 per day per million tests as advised by the World Health Organization by more than 5 times. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. Providing a breather for the passengers whose flights got cancelled due to the COVID-19 lockdown, the Supreme Court on Thursday accepted the recommendations of the Directorate General of Civil Aviation. The airlines will now have the option to create a credit shell in the name of passengers that can be availed for travel on any route before the 31st of March 2021. The Supreme Court on Thursday accepted the Directorate General of Civil Aviation scheme for refund of money for air tickets booked during the COVID-19 lockdown. A 3-judge bench endorsed the DGCA credit shell scheme that will be valid till 31st March, while stating that in cases where the agents had booked the air tickets, a refund will happen through them. In effect, under the scheme, if a passenger is seeking a refund for an air ticket booked for domestic or international travel during the lockdown period between 25th March and 24th May, the airline shall refund the full amount collected without cancellation charges. The refund will be made within 3 weeks from the date of cancellation. Passengers who book tickets at any period of time but for travel after 24th May 2020, the fare refund to passengers covered shall be governed by the provisions of civil aviation requirements. Immediate refund will be made even for international travel for tickets booked on an Indian carrier during the lockdown period for travel within the lockdown period. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV. Education Minister Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank has said the plan to implement the National Education Policy 2020 is under preparation in consultation with various stakeholders. Responding to queries from students on Twitter, the minister said multidisciplinary and holistic education will be introduced phase-wise. He also said the national education policy has emphasized the use of technology and online education for children. The minister added that online platforms like Swayam Prabha and Diksha will be expanded in the coming future.
राज्यों को ये कहा गया है कि वो परिस्थितियों को देखते हुए और चरणबद्ध तरीके से स्कूलों को वो खोल सकते हैं और उन स्कूलों को खोलने में स्कूल जो संस्थान है वो प्रबंधन तंत्र है, अध्यापकगण, अभिभावकगण, ये परामर्श करने के बाद और सुरक्षा और स्वास्थ्य इसकी शीर्ष प्राथमिकता के आधार पर ये स्कूल खोलने का जो निर्णय गृह मंत्रालय ने दिया है, मैं गृह मंत्री जी का हृदय से बहुत आभारी हूँ।
An amount totaling 95,480 crore rupees was collected as goods and sales tax revenue in September 2020. Of this, Central Goods and Sales Tax or CGST is 17,741 crore rupees. State Goods and Sales Tax SGST is 23,131 crore rupees. Integrated Goods and Sales Tax IGST is 47,484 crore rupees and cess is 7,124 crore rupees. The government has settled 21,260 crore rupees to CGST and 16,997 crore rupees to SGST from IGST as regular settlement. The total revenue earned by central government and the state governments after regular settlement in September 2020 is 39,001 crore rupees for CGST and 40,128 crore rupees for the SGST. The revenues for the month are 4% higher than the GST revenues in the same month last year. With that, time for a quick break here, but more news and updates will continue on the other side. Do stay with us.
Watch The Big Picture with me, Vishal Dahiya, at 9:30 p.m. on Rajya Sabha TV.
The prolific British poet and story writer Joseph Rudyard Kipling, one of the first masters of short stories in English. In 1894 appeared his Jungle Book, which became a children's classic all over the world. Kim, the story of Kimball O'Hara and his adventures in the Himalayas, is perhaps his most felicitous work published. Set in and concerned with India he had come to know and love so well. In 1907, Kipling became the first English language writer to receive the Nobel Prize for Literature.
Delhi for centuries has nurtured many kingdoms and rulers. These kingdoms have left us several significant monuments with an incredible history to tell. Among these monuments is one which is in the midst of posh bungalows in Hauz Khas area, the Chor Minar. built under the rule of Alauddin Khilji, telling a statement of his rule, is believed to have stood out as a deterrent for thieves and thugs who attempted to venture in his kingdom. Built in 13th century, the pillar is made of rubble masonry and stands at the center of a platform. Each of the four sides of the platform has three arched recesses with a doorway on one side leading to a spiral staircase. The pillar, also believed to be known as the Tower of Thieves, was used to display the severed heads of the thieves and thugs through its 225 holes.
Welcome back. You're watching News Tonight. The first phase of the Bihar Assembly elections were notified on Thursday. Now, with this, the process of nomination of candidates has started. The first phase of elections will be held on 28th October for 71 seats spread across 16 districts. The last date for filing nominations is 8th of October. Nomination papers will be scrutinized on the 9th of October. The last date for withdrawal of candidature is the 12th. The 71 assembly seats that will go to polls include Bhagalpur, Banka, Munger, Lakhisarai, Shekhpura, Patna, Bhojpur, Buxar, Kaimur, Rohtas, Arwal, Aurangabad, Gaya, Nevada, Jamui and Jahanabad. In view of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, the Election Commission has given the option to file nomination papers online. Candidates can file nominations through portals of the Chief Electoral Officer or their respective district election officers. Candidates can also deposit security money online. Voting for the Bihar Assembly elections will be held in 3 phases for 243 constituencies. The polling for the second and third phases would be held on the 3rd and 7th of November, while the counting of votes will take place on the 10th of November. Voting time will be extended by 1 hour and votes could be cast from 7 a.m. till 6 p.m. except in the left-wing extremism affected areas. COVID-19 patients will also be allowed to cast their votes in the last hour of the voting period.
पोलिंग स्पेसेस को डीकंजेस्ट करने के लिए और ज़्यादा मूवमेंट अलाउ करने के लिए पोलिंग टाइम हैज़ ऑलरेडी बीन इंक्रीज. वी हैव टेकन अ डिसीजन by 1 hour. Polling will now be held from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. instead of 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. earlier. लेकिन ये जो आवर्स हैं ये लेफ्ट विंग डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स में इफेक्टिव नहीं होंगे और जो दर्रा एरिया आपका है उसमें भी ये इफेक्टिव नहीं होंगे.
A team of Election Commission officials visited Patna to take stock of poll preparations ahead of the upcoming Bihar Assembly election. The Election Commission removed Bihar Excise Commissioner B. Kartikeya Dhanji from his post for not presenting an effective action plan on preventive measures. The 7-member poll panel, headed by Chief Election Commissioner Sunil Arora, heard representatives of all political parties on the arrangements for the conduct of elections during the COVID-19 pandemic. Congress members expressed concern over the rise in crimes against women in the Odisha Assembly. Congress leader Narsingh Mishra sought an investigation into an allegation of misbehavior by a woman at a COVID-19 facility in Bolangi district. He said cyber crimes had also increased manifold in Odisha. Earlier, the State Assembly passed the Epidemic Disease Odisha Amendment Bill 2020 that provides for 2 years jail and 1 lakh rupees penalty for violation of COVID-19 guidelines. India and China are working to schedule next round of military talks for steps towards early disengagement, the Ministry of External Affairs said on Thursday. The statement comes a day after both countries held talks under the WMCC mechanism on the border issue. MEA spokesperson Anurag Srivastava said, during the talks on Wednesday, both sides reviewed the situation along the line of actual control and also held detailed discussions. Listening.
In the WMCC, the two sides were of the view that it was necessary to implement the steps outlined in the last meeting of the senior commanders so as to avoid misunderstandings and to maintain stability on the ground. As agreed in the last senior commanders meeting, the two sides are now working to schedule the next, which is the 7th round of the meeting, so that both sides can work towards early and complete disengagement of the troops along the LAC and in accordance with the existing bilateral agreement and protocols and fully restore peace and tranquility.
India has hit out at Pakistan for playing the victim card on the issue of terrorism. Speaking at the United Nations Human Rights Council on Thursday, India's first secretary to the United Nations in Geneva, Vimarsh Aryan, said that Pakistan is continuing with its shenanigan of running with the hare and hunting with the hound. He said that Pakistan plays the victim card to distract international community's attention from the reality that Pakistan is unabashedly harboring and supporting UN-proscribed terrorists and terrorist organizations. Aryan also exposed the condition of minorities, women, children, as well as journalists in Pakistan.
Exercising India's right of reply in response to the reckless propaganda that was evident in the statement of Pakistan. The draconian state of Pakistan dares to talk about the rights of minorities in egalitarian India, without realizing that their responsibility is to protect people like Asif Parvez, a Christian man from Lahore who was recently sentenced to death under the draconian blasphemy laws of Pakistan. Whenever this council discusses the rights of women, the barbaric state of Pakistan dares to talk about the rights of women in an inclusive democracy like India, without realizing that their responsibility is to protect women like Parsha Kumari, who was recently abducted, forcibly converted, and married to her abductor without impunity in Sindh province of Pakistan. Whenever there is a discussion on terrorism, the failed state of Pakistan plays the victim card so as to distract international community's attention from the reality that Pakistan is unabashedly harboring and supporting UN-proscribed terrorists and terrorist organizations.
External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar will visit Japan to attend the Quad ministerial meet. The second India, Australia, Japan, USA ministerial meeting will take place in Tokyo on the 6th of October, in which the foreign ministers of the respective countries will discuss the post-COVID-19 international order and the need for a coordinated response to the various challenges emerging from the pandemic.
As regards the agenda, it will broadly focus on the post-COVID-19 international order, as well as the need for coordinating responses to the challenges of the pandemic. There will also be discussion on regional issues, and I cannot share the specifics at this stage. The foreign ministers are also expected to collectively reaffirm the importance of a free, open, and inclusive Indo-Pacific.
India reported over 32 lakh criminal cases in 2019. Uttar Pradesh topped this list, followed by Maharashtra, according to the latest Crime in India 2019 report released by the National Crime Records Bureau. The data compiled by the NCRB showed that criminal cases increased by 9.8% in the year 2019 as compared to the previous year. However, the country recorded a decline of 0.7% in cases of kidnapping and abduction in 2019 over the previous year. According to the latest data, India recorded an average of 79 murder cases daily in 2019. 28,918 cases of murder were registered in 2019, showing a marginal decline of 0.3% over 2018. From 2018, crime against women rose by 7.3%, with the country recording an average 87 cases of rape every single day in the year 2019. Meanwhile, Mumbai recorded the maximum number of cyber crime cases after Bengaluru in the year 2019. Government data showed the highest number of crimes against foreigners in India in 2019 were recorded in national capital Delhi, followed by Maharashtra and then Karnataka. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu on Thursday greeted President Ramnath Kovind on his 75th birthday. Praising the president for his simplicity, warmth, vision, exemplary leadership and concern for the poor, the vice president wished him good health and long life. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also greeted President Kovind on his birthday, calling the president extremely compassionate towards serving the vulnerable. Prime Minister Modi praised his insights and wise understanding of India's policy matters as great assets for the nation. Home Minister Amit Shah, Karnataka Chief Minister B.S. Yediyurappa, BJP President J.P. Nadda, Union Minister Prakash Javadekar and several other political leaders also greeted the president on his birthday. International Day for Older Persons was observed on Thursday. Designated by the United Nations in the year 1990, the day is devoted to the well-being and special needs of the elderly people. The theme of the day is Pandemics, Do They Change How We Address Age and Aging? It aims at recognizing, enabling and expanding the contributions of older people in their families, communities and societies at large, and also to raise awareness towards issues of aging.
The world marks the 30th anniversary of the International Day of Older Persons as we reckon with the disproportionate and severe impact that the COVID-19 pandemic has wrought on older persons around the world, not only on their health, but on their rights and well-being. Older people must be a priority in our efforts to overcome COVID-19. In keeping with the theme of this year's commemoration, we must also examine how the pandemic might change how we address age and aging in our societies. Expanding opportunities for older persons and increasing their access to health, pensions and social protection will be crucial. The potential of older persons is a powerful basis for sustainable development. More than ever, we must listen to their voices, suggestions and ideas to build more inclusive and age-friendly societies.
Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan launched the Decade of Healthy Aging 2020 to 2030 campaign on the day. It is aimed at mainstreaming issues related to the elderly and for deliberating upon ways to ensure better and effective delivery of services to them. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu also extended his greetings on the day, calling the elderly mentors and guiding lights. The Vice President urged people to respect and treat them with special care in difficult times, especially during this pandemic situation. So that's it from us in this bulletin. Thank you very much for your time. Good night.